exercising myself English reading. Text 1. Is there a sixth sense? During the school holidays after the first term in 1992, Mrs. Mushui of Arusha in Tanzania was getting ready to go to the market to buy some food for her family. Her young son, Peter, aged 9, didn't want to stay home alone. Asked his mother if he could go and play football at his school. The school was near their home, and the boys from the neighborhood often went to play there in the afternoons. Peter's mother agreed and told him to hurry and get ready. They left home together and walked to the school. Mrs. Mushui left her son with his friends who were at the playing field. Play safely, boys. Don't hurt each other, she called back to them as she walked off towards the market. The market was about a kilometer from the school. She soon reached the outer part of it, which was full of people. This was the part of the market where the farmers brought their crops to sell to the market vendors. Vendors from markets in all the neighboring villages came here to buy food in bulk from the farmers, just like a wholesale warehouse for stores. Mrs. Mushui walked to the retail section of the market through the eastern gate. All kinds of fresh food was on display in the stalls. There were stalls for vegetables, fruit and cereals, beef, poultry and fish. She first went to a vegetable stall and bought some tomatoes, cabbages and onions. She then went to a fruit stall where a woman sold her oranges, pawpaws and passion fruits. Next, she walked towards the cereal stalls. Suddenly, before she reached them, she was struck by a feeling of terror. It started at the bottom of her spinal cord, moved up to her head, and spread through her brain to every part of her body. She felt cold and she shivered like a leaf. She couldn't move. She stood still and looked around in fear, as if a lioness was about to attack her. She didn't understand what was happening to her. She could hardly breathe, and she felt numb, although she could see, hear, and think clearly. She looked at her watch. It was 11 o'clock. As she started at her watch, she saw her son lying down in pain at the side of the football field. His head was bleeding, and one of his legs was broken. She dropped the basket, rushed out of the market, and went straight to a car which was parked outside. She begged the owner to drive her to the school and promised to pay him generously. On the way, she told the driver to go as fast as the car could take them. She told him to ignore the traffic regulations and overtake all the other cars no matter what. They soon reached the playground, although the driver didn't break any rules. Peter's friends ran to the car to meet Mrs. Mushui. Peter has had a bad accident, he said. He called the headmaster from his home and he has taken him to the hospital. The same car rushed Mrs. Mushui and a few of Peter's friends to the hospital. There she found her son still unconscious. His left leg was in splints and there were bandages on his head. He said to the boys, "When did the accident happen?" "Around 11 o'clock, madam," Mrs. Mushui shivered. It took several months for Peter to recover fully, but now he's fine. What do you think happened to Mrs. Mushui when she was in the market? Why did she feel numb? Why did she feel numb and hopeless at the very time her son was in trouble? Was it a coincidence, or is there something more to it than that?